This is going to be a tool review from VEVOR. This is not opened up yet. It is supposed to be a torch set, just a regular shop cutting torch, OxyAcetylene torch set. So let me go ahead and take the knife to the box and open it up and see what's in there. Well, it's already double boxed. This is a VEVOR box and not directly from Amazon. Of course, they sell this on Amazon, and I'll have a link for that. Let me get this other box out of there and open that up. Striker, tip cleaner, goggles, wrench, here's our torch set. We'll get that opened up and see what all is in there, and a carrying case with a spool that you can wrap your hose around. So if you're going to have little bottles, you can get those little portable bottles and take them with you. They cost a lot to fill. I'm not going to use them. I don't have bottles like that, but I've got regular size bottles that I can hook the gauges up to and show how this works. These gauges are different than mine. The oxygen will work, the acetylene will not, because this acetylene is for a smaller torch bottle that I don't have. And the safety rules always say, I did not read the book to this thing because I've been using torches for a long time, but you're not supposed to leave pressure on these gauges when they're off. I mean, it's okay if you're going to be using it off and on throughout the day, but when they're going to be sitting for a while, you're supposed to unload the spring there. Your acetylene pressure, you're going to leave that between 5 and 10, depending on what you're doing on the red scale here. The 7 to 10 pounds of pressure is pretty typical on the oxygen for cutting. On these small torch sets like this, you'll probably go with about 20 to 30 pounds. I usually stay around 20 pounds on mine, unless I got to cut something big. And I just loosened this up to see what we had in here, and this is a Victor style cutting torch. So you can go and get Victor style tips. You can get a different size cutting tip. That's a pretty good size one there. What size is that? It's a 3 size cutting tip. The hole in the middle there, the 6 little holes around the outside, those are your preheaters, and then they mix both oxygen and acetylene, and the hole in the center is only oxygen, high pressure oxygen coming out in a blast for doing the cutting. So these two are welding torches for either brass or gas welding. The one on the left side's a little bit bigger hole than the one on the right. I'll do a little demo of that, and I'm going to show about these gauges next to the set that I have over here for the shop. As you can see here, the acetylene is not going to fit. You see how little that screw-on thing is? That'll never go on this bigger bottle. This was the standard size one. It's a small bottle, but it takes the standard size gauges. This one goes to the little tiny portable units only. And and you see these are my welding tips that I just stick them in here. I don't use them very often, once in a while. The oxygen one, it will fit. It's a standard size for the oxygen. As you see, this brass fitting here will fit. This gauge will fit. It's just going to be off to a different angle, but still, that's going to work. I'm not going to set the gauges up. I'm just going to take the hoses off of here. I'm going to leave VEVOR's hose package. I'm going to leave that wrapped up in this. It's a small 15-foot hose, and this is a 100-foot hose here. Not this one. These are a couple extra ones that are for something else. This is a this torch is almost the same as what VEVOR just sent me, and so this is what I've been using around the shop forever. This set is just about identical to mine. Mine has 3 tubes going up here. I guess they mix up here. This one has 2, but the size is the same. So this one's going to mix back here. The oxygen and acetylene are going to mix together back here in one of these, and then that's probably this one on the bottom, and then the one on top is going to be the oxygen boost for cutting. Looks like mine are going to mix out here. The oxygen and acetylene are going to come through these 2 tubes, one here and one here, and then they'll mix up here in this head to come out for your preheaters. And then the oxygen boost is this one on top. That's the only difference I see right off the bat. And then of course this screws right onto here. You've got O-rings that need to seal into that, and then your welding tips, they screw on the same way. Me personally, I leave these things finger tight. I don't use a wrench when I tighten them. It crushes the O-rings. I just leave them finger tight, and I adjust the tip there to whatever is most convenient for me. I like to have my valves right here. I'm right-handed, so I like to have my valves right here. Lefty would probably hold it this way. I like them here. My torch, I like to have an angle. I don't want to weld this direction. I want to weld this direction. I can see better. If I weld this way, I don't see as well because, well, I just don't. See better when it's this direction. Probably looks worse to you because the camera's on my right-hand side. I am going to go ahead and put the cutting torch together, and I'm going to use my gas. I'm going to take these off. That's normally 11/16 on these. Let's see if we got a wrench that size here. Okay, 11/16. Does that fit? It does. Okay. And by the way, the oxygen is going to be a right-hand thread, which means you turn it to the left to break it loose. Oh, there it goes. And the acetylene will be a right-hand thread. Your flammable gases are always going to be a left-hand thread, unless somebody has mixed it up for their personal use. I need to secure this somewhere, so I need a little bit of help here. So I'm just going to crank that to the right and break this one loose. Another little tip about these gas hoses is most of the time, maybe not always, but most of the time your left-hand thread is going to have this notch going around it in the middle of the ferrule there. Let's see, can we see that on here? Yeah, you see that little notch there in the middle of this. You don't have that on the oxygen, and I double checked already to see if this new one is that way. And it is. You see the red hose here? It's got the notch on it. That's your left-hand thread going all the way around that ferrule. For the purpose of this video, I grabbed this piece of rusty, rotted out old piece of trash metal. It's about 3/32 thick, I guess, and it was probably an 1/8 inch before it rotted out. I'll do some welding on this, and one of the reasons why I'm picking something this nasty is because I got to mount this thing in this vise somehow where it's not going to fall out. But exhaust pipes. Okay, these miniature torch sets like this with that carrying case and the small bottles, that's perfect for like heating and air conditioning people who have to braze cooling lines together. It's good for plumbers who have to use the hot silver solder that melts at a pretty high temperature. Of course, a MAP gas bottle can usually do those too, but these are actually easier for that. But you cannot weld rusty exhaust pipes with a MIG welder. It has to be clean. You have to be down to fresh, clean metal to use a MIG welder on those. And if that's not an option, you can burn this rust. You can burn the rust off of there and weld this, and I'm going to show you that you can do that. I'm going to show you that here in a minute. I got a change of plans. I'm going to cut this thing, a piece of this off, so I can weld it onto the other side. So I'm going to use the cutting torch first. I already switched the heads. I took the welding tip off, and like I said earlier, me personally, I just screw these things down hand tight. Now I do have a pretty strong grip, so for me, I'm perfectly safe screwing that down tight. It saves me from crushing the O-rings and needing to change them frequently. So anyway, let me go in here and turn the gas on. And do as I say, not as I do. My gas is already turned up to, it should be higher than 15. Let me turn this up a little bit. Go about halfway up, that's 20. I don't need that much for that thin piece of metal, but that's better for cutting. Turn the acetylene on. Well, I tried to use their striker, but it doesn't work because they put the file in there backwards. It only sparks when it's going this way. It needs to spark when you go this way, but it won't do it because they put the file in there backwards. So I got to take it apart, turn that around if I can. I really can't. Oh well. Just use one of mine. Now this metal that I'm going to cut, this was just a handy piece I grabbed because it's thicker, and I'm going to go ahead and do that. Let me show how to adjust the torch here. For those that don't know, turn your oxygen all the way on. Don't have to go all the way on, but just turn it up a little ways. You're going to adjust that with this knob. That's your oxygen pressure there. You adjust it with that one. Your acetylene you adjust down here. Okay, you turn your acetylene on. Give it a little light. Now you slowly start turning your oxygen on up here until you get your neutral flames. Once you get it lit, then you got to turn your acetylene on a little bit more. And now you come up here and adjust this out again. And you're looking for a neutral flame. That's when these two different colors of cones meet each other. You see that medium colored cone, the long single one? Bring that back down by adding more oxygen until it meets the tips of those preheaters. Then you hit your oxygen, cut. That's good. You can leave it like that, or you can cut, bring it down a little bit more, like so. I'm going to whack a piece of this off first. Well, you probably can't see what I'm doing with the camera angle. Put this over here until it gets red hot, then I'll hit the trigger. That should have broken off, should have fallen off, but it didn't. Okay, now we'll cut this thicker piece. Same thing, gonna lead my torch in. You may not be able to see what I'm doing, but since I'm going to be cutting towards my left instead of dead center, I'm going to lean in just a little bit like that and work my way across there when I cut. Waiting for the red hot on the corner there. This is a thicker piece, nearly ½ inch thick. It'll take a little bit longer to preheat. That is the basics for cutting with a cutting torch. Now these hot pieces here, I'm going to move stuff around and get in a position to do a little gas welding. Now for the welding, I'm going to turn my oxygen back down just a little bit more. I got it opened up out there. I'm going to turn it down a little bit more. I don't know how low I'm going. Hard for the pressure to adjust with a 100-foot hose. Went between 5 and 10 pounds for welding. I'm going to light my torch and get a neutral flame, as we call it. Now when you start your acetylene, you don't want your flame to jump off the end of your torch. Turn it up too high, it will. Well, it's not doing it, but it will if you turn it up too high. Adjust your oxygen. We don't need it that hot. Turn the gas back down. That's probably 5/16, 3/8 of an inch long. I'm going to use some coat hanger wire, and then after that I'm going to grab a little piece of fender material, the scrap. I'm going to weld a little piece with that. You could use a rusty nail, you could use MIG wire, you can knock the flux off of a stick, electrode, stick welder rod, and use that. That's the neat thing about gas welding, is it's so versatile, and the most important thing, you can do it on rusty metal. So let me zoom in here and get started. Now I'm going to go at a 45 and 45 degree angle on both sides. 45 degree with the torch and 45 with the welding rod. Now you can't see the 45 because the camera is not where my eyes are, it's to my right hand side. If I was to my left, it would be looking like this. We're going to do it here, and I'm going to preheat both sides. I want to see red hot on both sides. It's getting red hot. And then it's going to start shining. It's going to look like it's wet. It's going to get a puddle and look like it's wet. Don't get your torch too awful close to it. It'll cause the tip to get too hot and it'll start popping on you. I didn't unwrap this wire, and I'm getting hot getting close to it. See how that's going in there? Gotta hold this out here at a different angle because it's getting hot. Now I'm going to grab this piece of fender with the pliers and introduce that, just to show how versatile gas welding can be. We're going to do this over here on this side. I mean, if you're in an absolute pinch and you just got absolutely nothing left, it is possible. Not recommended, but it is possible to do this. And you'll never weld thin, rusty metal with a MIG. You got to get all that rust off of it. And a stick, you can weld rusty metal with a stick, but it has to be thick. Because once you burn through that rust, it takes a lot of heat to burn through that rust. You burn through that rust on thin metal, you're just blowing holes through the metal, and you're not going to weld anything. You're just going to knock big holes in it. Turn off the oxygen first and then the acetylene. Let that cool down a minute and then we'll show you those welds. The one on the right was the coat hanger wire. The one on the left was the piece of fender scrap material. I'd have to put this thing in a big vise and grab that with grab this piece with the pliers and show you that it is a tight weld. Okay, we got it in the big vise. I'm going to grab it by this. Of course, it'll break off of there because it is thin metal, but well, will it break off of there? It's on there pretty tight. That's called a lap weld, when you lay one piece across the top of another and weld the edge of it together. I don't know, you tell me, is it welded? Okay, thanks for watching.